Today's topic for colored pencil work is oopsie. Oopsie. You made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. You can correct mistakes in colored pencil. It's difficult. So it's better not to make them. So it's better to plan ahead and know what you're doing and work as carefully as you can and keep your drawing clean. But when you make a mistake or get something on your drawing, there are things you can do. You can lift, number one. You can erase a little bit, but erasing is not really the best strategy for colored pencil. You think pencil, you think erase, because graphite erases so beautifully. Colored pencil, you can try various erasers, the stick erasers, and you can get a little bit of the colored pencil back up off the paper, but it's not really going to be useful if you really want to make a sea change. So what do? Well, you can lift with a kneaded eraser, and when you use this for graphite, you would just, use it like a regular eraser, rub, rub, rub. But when you use it for colored pencil, you put colored pencil down, then the colored pencil, I put it down. You just press and lift, and press and lift, and press and lift. And you will remove quite a bit of the pencil off the paper. I don't know if you can see, that did a pretty good job. This is not the best paper for colored pencil. I just have it down to show you something else. So that's one thing, a kneaded eraser. It will work, and it's usually what I use first. I take as much of the colored pencil, especially if I'm doing a large area. I take as much of the colored pencil off as I can by this. The other thing you can use is this sticky stuff that's on the top of my pencil sharpener, because I use it to collect shavings. It's a little tackier than the kneaded eraser. You have to be careful with it because it depends on your paper. This is the other thing. Everything you do to lift, you should try on a sample sheet of the actual paper that you're using before you do it on your drawing, because some things will work on one paper and not on another. This is strong enough tack that it will tear some paper or change the surface. And then when you go back and try to draw into that some more, the texture will look a little bit different. You won't like it. So be careful with that. Another thing you can do with colored pencil, and I'm just going to put down some nice blue here, to lift colored pencil off, is you can use various tapes. I like drafting tape. So you put a piece of drafting tape down, and you can just rub it even with your finger and pull it back up. Again, you have to test this because some types of paper will accept it and others it will tear the surface. But you can see how much pigment came off onto that piece of tape. Get a new piece of tape. Don't use that same one because you'll just put pigment back down. If you're trying to lift maybe just a little line, I use embossing tools. This is an embossing tool. It has a ball on either end. I will very gently lay down my piece of tape. This time I don't want to rub it with my whole hand because I really only want a little bit of it. I get it close and then I draw basically with my embossing tool. And with drafting tape you can kind of see through it so you can see what you're doing. And it will lift just where you've done your drawing if you're careful. I have not been able to really show that because, I'm on tape. But you can do some really fine correction that way with the smallest of your embossing tools or the very, very smallest of your embossing tools, which that's in a different video. You'll get to learn about that. So that's another way of correcting. And the final way of correcting that I very recently learned that actually works, it's very similar to what I just showed you with the tape. You can do that same thing with waxed paper. And it does lift up the colored pencil off the page. So waxed paper is your friend, and you can see right through it. So the wax paper would be a first step, and then tape, this is drafting tape, would be probably your next step because it would be a little stickier, and your other sticky stuff. The nice thing about these types of things, the putties, is that you can do large areas if you mold them flat and just boom, 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 boom. Or if you just need to do a little bit, you can make as fine a point on that as you need to, and just very gently use just that edge. So it's a really good tool. I think that's all I have for under correction. The eraser, the tapes, and the wax paper. And you just keep going and keep going and keep going. Now, there's one more thing I need to tell you. If you really have a problem with something that got embedded in your paper off to the side, for instance, when you're doing a botanical illustration, there's a lot of white in the background. I've had times where a fleck of colored pencil gets embedded and I just can't get all the color out. You can use, very carefully, an X-Acto knife to take up, because those are usually just very, very small areas, but they're very visible. So you can take that top layer of paper off and the pigment with it. You can also, if you're very brave and you're working on really white paper, you can use a little bit of bleach. But you have to be careful with that too. So those are more extreme, but if the drawing is ruined otherwise, you're willing to try it. So you can X-Acto up or use bleach. I think those are all the techniques that I've ever done to correct colored pencil. Your best correction for colored pencil is really not making the mistake in the first place. Good luck with that.